If you ask people whether they would rather have a meaningful life or a life that was meaningless, nearly everyone would respond that they want the life full of meaning. A meaningful life is the very essence of a good life, whereas a meaningless life is tied up with any number of undesirable conditions. When we think of what it means to live a meaningful life, our minds may initially think of the titans of meaning, ancient figures like Jesus Christ, Siddhartha Gautama, or Socrates. More modern figures who changed the world positively like Abraham Lincoln, Gandhi, or Martin Luther King. And well-known beloved figures who seem to live in exemplary ways like Mr. Rogers, Queen Elizabeth, and Anne Frank. These larger-than-life figures are important because their stories demonstrate patterns of meaning in concentrated and powerful ways. But at the same time, there's part of us that recognizes that all but the smallest percentage of humans will not have lives as noteworthy as these. Most of us are not going to be well known or change the world, to use the cliche, at the scale that these people did. Does living a meaningful life depend on fame or such grand influence for good? Our intuition tells us no. Living a meaningful life has to be something that does not depend on fame, influence, or attention. We most likely have all encountered people whose lives glow with meaning, but whose stories are nonetheless small and contained at a local scale. Perhaps you have a grandma or a grandpa who exemplifies this, a particular teacher you had in school, or a neighbor whose quiet or even hidden life was one that was full and deep with purpose. To understand what meaning is, then, we need to identify what is common about lives spanning from titanic figures like Gandhi all the way to the humble life of a loving grandmother. Consider other ways we use the word meaning, such as when we say a sentence has meaning. A meaningful sentence is one that makes sense, has a purpose and a point, and this purpose is one of significant enough value to make it worth reading. The most meaningful sentences can even be said to be profound. A meaningless sentence makes no sense, is a jumble of words in an absurd fashion, or if it has some coherence, it is so trivial as to be not worth listening to or reading. A meaningful life, then, has these same qualities. If you are living a meaningful life, then your life makes sense. You know who you are, where you are, what and who matters around you, and you feel like your life is headed in a direction towards things that are important and greater than you. A meaningless life, then, is one where nothing makes sense. Nothing around you really matters, and your life has no direction. We might be tempted to equate meaning with happiness, and sometimes we experience happiness at the same time as meaning. But meaning can also be felt in moments of suffering and trial if we know that our suffering is taking place in a context that makes sense to us and has a worthwhile purpose. Navy SEAL recruits sitting for hours at night without sleep in the cold San Diego surf during Hell Week, the hardest part of the initial training, are unlikely to be experiencing happiness, but they are likely experiencing meaning in what they're doing. Those who don't, quit. This is why ultimately, while we can enjoy it when it comes, it is not happiness we should pursue in life, but meaning. And meaning is the essential element in being able to endure any number of ordeals, as Viktor Frankl so eloquently taught in Man's Search for Meaning. Suffering without meaning can lead to feelings of absurdity, despair, and even horror. Having a sense of what meaning is, it is even more important that we identify how to cultivate it. Through our research and experience, helping many individuals and groups to discover more meaning in their lives, we have found that it is important that people focus on three main areas of life: development of self, relationships with others, and a connection with the divine. When we give each of these areas of life their proper due, neither giving them too much focus nor too little, we can simultaneously feel inner wholeness, feel the connection and worth of the people and other living things around us, and feel how all things are connected to what is greatest and most good. When development of self, relationship with others, and connection to the divine are in harmony, we experience the coherence, alignment, and direction that are part and parcel of what it means to live meaningfully. Far from being a one-time static state, maintaining and enhancing such meaning in our lives is something that much more approximates a process, a path, or a way And we have to continuously evaluate and course correct along the way as our direction gets off track, or our efforts to give proper attention to self, others, and the divine falls temporarily out of balance or harmony. We hope this introduction to understanding meaning has been helpful to you, and we wish you the best as you seek to cultivate a greater abundance of meaning in your life.